Hello everybody, I'm back again with another update for my series ACA Today, the series that documents all the lies and deceptions that are still ongoing with the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You might notice that I'm not doing it very frequently right now, mostly because I've been occupied with a lot of other things, kind of busy at work. I've been also putting out other videos, but alongside the fun stuff that I like doing, the Clinton Penitentiary Library hasn't been a lot of videos lately, even though I'm always reading books. And then, of course, there's always my trash talk videos like the Kathy Griffin hideous privilege video that I put on today. Check it out. I'll put the link below, even though it's not related to Obamacare, but let's talk about Obamacare again, because it's important we don't lose perspective. It says here, Blue Cross Blue Shield drops out of the Nebraska individual market. Now, nationwide, that's not that important. I'll tell you why. In the main media markets, which are New York, LA, Chicago, DC, somewhat in Boston and other coastal cities, and they could give a shit about Nebraska. You saw how fast they just stopped covering Montana after they lost a special election there. Those are states that are, like was said ad nauseum last year, those are flyover states. The Democrats could care less about them. To be quite fair, I don't think the GOP would give a shit about Maryland normally, even though now they have a Republican governor and whatnot. These parties mainly make policy for, their core supporters, their base, their constituents, whoever it would be. And simply put, the Democrats don't give a fuck about Nebraska. It says, health insurer Blue Cross Blue Shield announced Thursday that it will not be participating in the individual market in Nebraska next year, and the remaining insurer hasn't decided if it will leave also. Blue Cross, you can't escape from that Kathy Griffin, What are you going to do? Is projected to lose $12 million this year from offering plans in the state, and the company would need to increase its price for premiums next year by 50%. So 50% just to stay in the exchange. The company previously participated in the Obamacare exchanges, which resulted in $150 million in losses. Now, let me explain to you again how this is a problem, okay? The insurance market depends, in order for the insurance companies to make a profit, that they have customers that pay into the system without cashing in. Okay, so they're building up over time all these people that are basically healthy, and they're paying into the system. They're paying their premiums, but they're not cashing in on their claims. And at the end of the process, if you have all these people that are getting on the exchanges and they're filing like hella claims, they just get on and they have dialysis all the time, for example. God forbid somebody has got dialysis, horrible procedure to have to go through every day. It's a lot of work, very expensive too. So the more people that the insurance company has on these treatments that are a liability to begin with, the less profitable they're going to be. Now, this is something, I don't have to say it, but I will say it every time. This is something that both progressives and conservatives can agree on, that, this is not the way to deal with the problem, what Obamacare does. What they basically do is Obamacare throws federal money at insurance companies in order to sell people insurance plans that they can't afford. Okay, so we're not keeping children healthy or whatever. I'm sorry if on screen I'm not trying to focus on Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton right now. I'm focusing on what's the right thing for the consumer. I'll scroll down so there's no distraction. Obamacare will lead to an insurance market that will be basically so sabotaged that, even the relatively rich people won't be able to take it. What would happen, okay, if there were to be a single payer system? We would have, yes, everybody would have health coverage and so-called health access, even though healthcare access really doesn't mean anything. It's a made-up expression talking about the right to get a procedure. The fact that you have a right to get something does not in and of itself mean that you have the capability to get it. Okay, it has to be around. You can't guarantee the supply of something unless you have the resources in order to fulfill it. That's the flaw in a lot of single payer systems, believe it or not. And those that say, oh, it'll work itself out, the government can organize it better. You know what? If it organizes itself out, then why is it that in Britain, for many of these orthopedic surgeons, people have to wait 6 months just to see the guy, just to see him? Forget about treatment. Okay? What happens is everybody has the right and access to treatment, but who gets the actual care? The rich people who are still able to buy supplemental private insurance. Because in the end, these doctors, they need to make their money too, okay? Don't kid yourself. They're not retarded. They're not going to set up a system where the doctors basically are screwed over and they have to take all these patients that are not going to actually pay, and you end up getting pauper's wage from the government. What will end up happening is that there will still be private insurance options, and those people will get the optimum treatment, and everybody else will get shitty treatment, but it will be considered universal health care. And the people that set it up will be fine with it until, the voters get angry, and then they'll start blaming the doctors, because they can't blame the insurance companies anymore. They'll have to blame the doctors. Okay, that's the flaw with single payer. Said here, about 100,000 Nebraskans purchased their health insurance through the Obamacare exchanges, which allow most enrollees to receive tax subsidies to pay for their plans. Medica is the other insurer offering plans on the exchange in Nebraska. By the way, it's the same company that recently pulled out. Medica will probably pull out in the end too from Nebraska. Mark my words, because they just pulled out from Iowa, leaving all of Iowa apart from 5 counties without Obamacare. So we have dead zones all across the country now. There are going to be more of them. I believe that by you know what? Let's call it a cautious prediction, okay? By September, even if there is no new GOP healthcare bill, which I've already said in plenty of my videos, I will not give my full support to it. I think it really falls far short of repealing Obamacare. But if this law, the Affordable Care Act, the one that we have now, is still standing, I believe that by September there will be a major state that has zero coverage or something. Georgia's already on the way there. I think Florida would be another state where that could happen. Obviously it's going to be a slower process in some of the larger states because there are more people to cover. However, you will see, a major state. You know what? Colorado is already on its way there right now. There's already a massive part of Colorado with no access to Obamacare plans at all for 2018. So it ends with the CEO of Medica, or the vice president, Jeff Bart, saying, "Things are still changing daily. We're still looking at changes and we'll continue evaluating things. We're still planning to participate in the Nebraska market for 2018. We haven't made any final decisions on that yet. Okay, let's say that this one company stays in Nebraska. So you have an entire state of 100,000 subscribers for this insurance, Obamacare insurance, of all the plans, and they're only going to have one provider. What do you think is going to happen to the price? It's going to explode. They have no reason to keep the costs down. I mean, they legitimately would have a reason to say that they would have to hike it. So that's it for Nebraska. Let's move on to a more familiar place. So this is the deceptive headline from Slate. They say a major insurer just pulled out of Obamacare in Ohio, and it basically blamed Trump. And they are basing it on, a statement made here. This is actually, I think it's a pretty short article, but they go through some. Here we go. Actually, it's a good thing that I found this map, but we'll get to that in a second. But they're blaming it on President Trump again on how he doesn't want to fund these risk corridors. Now, once again, I don't care how many times I have to say this. The risk corridors are a charade. Okay? Repeat after me. They're a charade. They're a charade. Risk corridors are a charade. What they are is simply this. The regular subsidies for Obamacare weren't enough to make the plans, fungible. They weren't enough to make them solvent and healthy. The healthcare plans themselves are basically sick to death of the of these overregulations and the massive claims that the companies have to cover. So basically, Obama was stealing money from the Treasury without asking Congress. That's what the risk corridors are. I've posted the article from Forbes before. Maybe I'll post it again this time because it's worth mentioning every time. Okay, when you take money from the Treasury without asking Congress, that's actually an abuse of power. And those of you Democrats that are talking about impeachable offenses all the time, that technically would be an impeachable offense of some sort. Or in the end, nobody gets impeached for something like this because you can't get people riled up about throwing money in the toilet. They're basically used to it all the time. I mean, people still use the post office, right? So obviously they're not that pissed off about wasting money on something that we don't need the government for. It says here, President Trump has threatened to cut off the funding on multiple occasions, and in May his administration asked for an additional 3 months to decide whether it would continue appealing a lawsuit brought by House Republicans aimed at stopping the payments, which are expected to be worth $7 billion this year. So they're complaining that President Trump isn't giving a $7 billion bailout to private insurance companies for horrible health care plans that a lot of the clients can't even use because the deductibles are too high. That's their complaint. That's their complaint in Slate. Let's look at now. This is because, and this is the one thing I do like. Look at this. This is Ohio, the state I live in, by the way. There are 18 counties that are completely done with Obamacare for next year. Okay, the ones in orange. They will have zero coverage. Okay. What does that mean? It means that there's another dead zone in the United States where there will be no Obamacare health insurance. This is the opposite of universal health care. It's basically spotty coverage care. It's basically pre-Verizon cell phone reception care. That's what it should be called. It's not universal at all. So you progressive idiots out there that are defending the Affordable Care Act should get your heads out of your asses and start asking for the Democrats to present a different plan. And I think you know what the plan is. The fact of the matter is that it's universal health care, and it's also a stupid idea. But it's a stupid idea for totally different reasons, and at least it has a consistency, and it's not completely contrived and built to collapse. Which is me admitting that there are universal health care programs around the world that have succeeded. I'm just saying that the price to do it is not something I'm in favor of. I don't give a fuck what your moral argument is. So it says, actually, I guess it went up to 20. So I thought it was 18 earlier today. So you have this map. If Anthem was to exit, which they are going to exit in several of these states, this is Georgia, Missouri, this is Kentucky, Virginia, parts of Maryland. Actually, some of these parts of Maryland are close to. No, I guess that would be Virginia, but those are even close to the D.C. area. If those counties don't receive health care coverage, we're going to see dead zones. There are already dead zones in other parts of the country. So let's talk about the Ohio pullout. This is CNBC, sorry, which once in a while has some good programs. It says Anthem is the only insurer selling Obamacare plans throughout Ohio this year. More than 10,000 Anthem customers may have no option for individual plans. So even with Obamacare, you still have 10,000 more people with no coverage options under Obamacare. So Obamacare is not the answer. You're just going to see more and more people dropping out of the whole program. Because even if you have plans offered in those areas in the end, let's say they were to convince somebody to go in there, the prices would be jacked up to such a degree that there's plenty of people that would pretty much say, I'm just going to go on Medicaid. I'm just going to go on Medicaid, or I'm not going to buy insurance at all. I'll take the penalty. It's been happening already. Who are you kidding yourselves? Nobody's buying your bullshit anymore, Obamacare supporters. Health insurer Anthem said Tuesday it will effectively exit its Obamacare insurance plan business in Ohio, leaving potentially 18 counties in the Buckeye State with no insurer selling plans in 2018. Anthem, which sells Obamacare in 14 states this year, left open the door to dropping out of other states next year. The company this year sold individual health plans in all 88 counties in Ohio, the only Obamacare insurer to cover the whole state. So it's not just those 20 counties, by the way, that are affected. Okay, those are the counties where there will be no Obamacare plans at all. Those were the only plans that were offered. They were all Anthem plans. In all of the other counties, including the one that I live in, which I'm not going to say on there, because I don't want people like asking, oh, fuck you. People from the area saying, oh, you're against Obamacare. I'm gonna go find you and attack you. I'm gonna slice you up with a pizza cutter. Yeah, I know there's plenty of people out there. But in all seriousness, throughout this state, doesn't matter what county you live in, you have such a variety of areas in Ohio. You have urban, small cities like Toledo and Dayton and whatever. All 88 of those counties are going to experience a spike in their healthcare costs. Okay, in 2016 to 2017, in 2017. I think the costs in Ohio didn't go up by that much. I think it was like 17%, which is, it's mild compared to some of the other places. 17%, by the way, is still, in normal terms, for a lot of other things, you'd say, it's not that good. But you have to remember that before Obamacare, there was high premium, low deductible a lot. Now you're having high premium, high deductible, Affordable Care Act, really showing the flag there, right? Was that the plan, that you would have high premium and high deductible? But I digress. But next year, Anthem said it will sell just a single plan in Pike County, which is, by the way, I think one of the smallest counties in terms of population in Ohio. And that will only be available outside of the Obamacare federal marketplace, healthcare.gov. Okay? There are 10,500 current Anthem customers in the 18 counties who are currently not expected to have an Obamacare plan available as a result of Anthem's planned exit, which was revealed a day after the deadline for filing proposed rates in Ohio for next year. The company, in explaining what it called a difficult decision, pointed to continued volatility in the individual health plan market, as well as to uncertainty about whether President Donald Trump and the Republican-controlled Congress will continue paying insurers reimbursements for key Obamacare subsidies that this is misleading here. When they use the term reimbursements, that's inaccurate. Okay, a federal court ruled that the risk corridors, which is what they're calling this, and now I think they might be running away from the term risk corridors because people don't respond to that. Risk corridors is a term that they made up in order to hide what it really is, which is the theft of money without consent from Congress from the Treasury and giving it to health care insurance companies. Okay, and once again, if you're a conservative, you should be against corporate welfare. If you're a progressive, you should be against corporate welfare. If you're a liberal, you should be against corporate welfare, but you're not. In fact, right now you're trying to get corporate welfare. The company also blamed the restoration of a tax on insurers. Okay, so lo and behold, now they're going to have to. They're blaming Trump now because of this, but what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to say, Trump is fucking the insurers? And then in the same breath, are they supposed to protest against the tax against health insurers? Is that the strategy the Democrats want? Usually it's not. Usually they try to play a little more coyly and try to pretend that they're not for the health insurance companies. In reality, the health insurance companies are some of their prime lobbyists. An increasing lack of overall predictability simply does not provide a sustainable path forward to provide affordable plan choices for consumers. So they never actually said Donald Trump was the problem. They just said that there is a lack of overall predictability. Now that could also draw from the fact that the premiums are exploding like crazy. And they have been for the past year. It started in 2015, to be honest. This notion that this is all because of Donald Trump. These companies were leaving Obamacare even before Donald Trump was nominated. Okay, there were companies that were planning to leave Obamacare way before this. Okay, so. I think Humana was the one that left last year. I can't be sure. I have to check. United Healthcare was the one that left last year. A massive, massive health insurance company. It left Obamacare. So even with bribery, which they're already doing, and even with corporate welfare theft, which is what they were doing with these so-called risk corridors, they can't make Obamacare work. It just can't work. We participate in Obamacare exchanges in all of our 14 states this year, an Anthem spokeswoman said. Regulations and deadlines for making the decisions regarding our participation vary by state, and we intend to continue our dialogue with regulators in our market until that time. So in general, in Ohio, it says the Department of Insurance has on record 17 companies selling Obamacare plans. Throughout 2016, it says that just dropped to 11 companies this year. Now, okay, so you might say, 11's enough. No, what it really means is that in any given county, there might be 2 or 3 of the 11 serving that county or offering plans in that county, however you want to call it. You only have 2 or 3 of those as options, such that if you were to have another guy drop out as Anthem just did, you would see a skyrocketing of the premium rates. So, you know, this just keeps going and whatever. And then Rob Portman comments on it. Look, I don't have to beat a dead horse, okay? Obamacare is a fucking failure. Do something about it. Write your senator. Doesn't matter what party he is. If you have a Democratic senator, then, you know, send him a letter that says, go fuck yourself. Okay? Because you're not going to convince him, but you can at least scare the shit out of him. You say, and you know, I'm not advocating for anything violent here. I'm just saying, you write to your senator and you say, fuck you, you piece of shit, that you think that you're helping somebody by stealing money, letting the insurance companies basically steal money against the wishes of the president, against the wishes of Congress, against the wishes of the American people, and give it to insurance companies. That's what you write there. Fuck you. I'm not here to provide a piggy bank, a petty cash fund for insurance companies. That's not what I believe in. And you know, this is a universal message. It shouldn't be just for conservatives, and it shouldn't be just for progressives. It's something that we can both agree on. The other stuff that you want, the fucking universal health care, which you always say, oh, it should be a universal value. No, I'm not going to support it. But you should be honest enough not to support this abomination called Obamacare. So anyway, have a good night. It's gone on long enough. It's been great again. I love talking about Obamacare, even as bad as it's going on. It's something that really gets me thinking and strategizing about what's going to happen next. And it's an interesting situation, and I talk to people about it all the time. And I want your thoughts on Obamacare. Send me your ideas. Send me your experiences. Send me your sentiments. Send me your problems with the actual healthcare system. And you know, we're going to be on a journey together, and the journey leads to one of two things. Either we're going to just have a conversation amongst ourselves that basically leads to nowhere, and it's you know, one of those intellectual abstractions that never comes to anything. Or what it could really mean is that we start actually educating people on what really the problems are here, not just the insurance delivery. We're also talking about malpractice issues. We're also talking about the pharmaceutical industry and its influence on it. We're also talking about you know, the amount of doctors being trained and licensed every year. That's what's also important. But you still have to, and mark my words, there will have to be a day we'll have to address all those issues. But until then, we do have to dismantle this empire of lies that is loyal to Obamacare. So until next time, it's Ramon. It's Bold Like a Leopard. ACA Today, Obamacare, the same abomination. We must kill it. Tell your senator to kill this fucking abomination of a program. Have a good night.